Hello and welcome to the fourth and final video in this mini video series on how to delegate effectively. What I'd like to cover in this video is what to do after they completed the task for the first time and how to get to a point where they continue to do this task and they take ownership of it full time. So when they have completed the task for the first time, it's really important that they get some feedback on how they've done, and as soon as possible after they completed the task. Now, it's inevitable that the first few times they do it, it's not going to be 100% perfect, but they don't necessarily need you to tell them where it's not perfect. So start off by asking them how they feel that they've done and get them to focus on the positives. What went well? Because it's very easy for them to focus on all the things that didn't go well. So get them on a positive note. Ask them what went well, but then go on to ask about what challenges or difficulties they had while they were completing the task. What did they learn from this? And importantly, what will they do differently next time they perform that task? So that they're learning from the way that they have done it, they're keeping all the good stuff, but they're also thinking about how they can actually improve it for next time around. And get some commitment from them, or you need to tell them when will be that next opportunity to perform that particular task. And the sooner they do it after the first time, then the more likely it is that they're going to be able to put those new approaches into practice and to perfect it. So giving them feedback as soon as possible after they've performed that task for the first time. Then we need to be thinking longer term to get to a point where they do have ownership over it. And the saying goes that practice makes perfect. But actually, in my book, it's not practice that makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. Because what we don't want to be doing is for them to get into the habit of doing things incorrectly. And when we do that, they're embedding the bad habits rather than the good habits. So it's important to pick up on those things as quickly as possible using the feedback that we just discussed. Also, longer term, you've probably so far, they've performed this task in sort of an ideal environment, but we know that there are things that are going to go wrong. And we don't want them to be like a rabbit in the headlights when those things go wrong. So it's important at this stage then to start talking about the things that can go wrong and how they would overcome those particular problems. Put in place some systems and procedures to help them to remember it. If they need an aide memoir for them to continue to carry out this task in future, then provide that for them, give them that support. But we want to get to a point where they are taking ownership over this task rather than relying on you. So that's what we need to be thinking about. Longer term, ownership, perfect practice makes perfect, and helping them to overcome any challenges that they might encounter along the way. Now, there will be times when you get a little bit of, not to say pushback, but there may be some problems. You may have comments like, for example, oh no, I can't do that, or I didn't have time. So let's just talk about those two. So if they come back to you and say, actually, no, I can't do that bit, or I can't do that, is we need to try and unravel why that is. Is it just a lack of confidence and their belief that they can't do it, or is it genuine? Is it because they haven't got access to all the right tools and resources that they need? Is it because they don't feel they don't have the authority to carry out parts of the task? Is it because they feel actually it's not really their place to do it, or it's not my job to do it? Or is it just because they don't want to do it? We need to be aware of that as well. Now, one of the other pushbacks that you might have is about time. And if they are struggling to fit this task in, is that because they are just taking far too long over the task, and it's inevitable the first few times it will take longer because they're having to think about each step? So maybe even though once they've got into doing it on a regular basis, they're just doing it in a long-winded way, or they haven't got a system, or they are really sort of seeking perfection when actually 95% there would be good enough. So that could be the reason that things are taking too long. It could be that there are bottlenecks in the system or the process. Maybe they're waiting on other people, or there's red tape involved. So unravel that for them. And then thirdly, and finally, thinking about where they place this in terms of their prioritization. We talked in an earlier video about ensuring that when you're going to delegate a task which is over and above what people are already doing, and if they're already working to full capacity, we need to enable them to drop something else to make space for it. So if we haven't done that, now is the time to look at that. Or if we want them to do it in place of something else, we need to sort that out with them now to help them to prioritize this task over and above or to come after their other tasks. So here we've talked about giving them feedback immediately after completing the task for the first time, thinking longer term so we get to a point where they take ownership, and overcoming any issues in terms of their confidence or their ability to do something and having the time to do it. So I hope that these 4 videos have been helpful for you thinking about how to delegate, and I look forward to seeing you in another series very soon. Bye for now.